Hello everyone. This presentation will discuss the ethical implications of a cloned sheep named Dolly. Scientists have explored cloning since the late 1800s. During the late 1990s in England, cloning was beginning to attract huge public attention. One important scientific discovery was the production of tadpole clones using nuclear transplantation. Dolly, a sheep named after the famous Dolly Parton, was the first mammal cloned in 1996 using an adult cell from a mammary gland as a result of groundbreaking technological advances performed by Ian Wilmut and his colleagues. This research opened a new set of opportunities that brought controversies and ethical dilemmas. The birth of Dolly initiated prospective ideas of human cloning, finding and creating cures for various diseases, organ replication, and others. This scientific experiment presented controversial implications from social, legal, and ethical aspects of cloning. One of the biggest topics of debate is the concept of bioethics. Merriam-Webster defines bioethics as the study of social, legal, and ethical issues that come to light in biomedicine or biomedical research. Bioethics primarily focuses on health-related science, which has roots in technology, biology, and medicine. Medical professionals, researchers, scientists, and ethicists worldwide hold diverse and strong opinions regarding the morality of human cloning. There are huge risks and implications for cloning humans or even future mammals, with repercussions that may not be discovered or fully understood until more time passes and more data is available. Jane in 2021 presented and debated several advantages of cloning, such as family planning, especially for couples who are struggling with infertility. Cloning can also create opportunities for other couples of the same gender to grow their family. Using the cloning process may also lead to the probability of ending genetic disease or even eliminating DNA abnormalities, as preferable genes would be selected for reproduction. Cloning can even provide life-saving organs for those patients dealing with serious diseases whose best and only option for life is receiving an organ transplant. In a study conducted by Jane in 2021, the author identified several disadvantages to cloning, including issues of individuality and the uniqueness of each human. How can an individual be special if there is a man-made identical replication walking around? It's important to note that once the human cloning process has begun, it can't simply be undone or thrown away. What happens if a human cloning experiment goes wrong or the product is less than desirable? It is ethically and morally wrong to destroy a product, in this case another human being, simply because it didn't turn out exactly like the researchers predicted or desired. Some strongly believe that cloning is an invasion of privacy with varying degrees of unpredictable consequences. An experiment rarely goes smoothly or successfully after only one attempt. It took almost 300 tries to create Dolly. Human cloning could result in a substantial number of complications, birth defects, or even deaths. What about the possibility of negative consequences on expectant mothers, such as poor mental health, added stress, post-traumatic stress disorder, psychological well-being, or even other conditions? What happens to the well-being of the baby after birth? Pollitt and Beck in 2021 discussed beneficence, which is an important duty of researchers to protect human subjects while focusing on maximizing benefits and decreasing risk and harm. How can we assume that those researchers are fully prepared, educated, and equipped to protect individuals that partake in cloning studies? Researchers must be prepared to prevent and minimize harm, which is known as non-maleficence when conducting experiments with humans. Pollitt and Beck in 2021 clearly outlined participants' rights to protection from exploitation. Can exploitation be prevented when scientists have not performed human cloning before? Human dignity must also be protected and respected. Research participants should be provided self-determination and the right to full disclosure. The Dolly experiment violated several ethical principles, such as the fact that cloned animals have a higher risk for health-related problems and future complications. Ethicists discuss the dangers of creating future designer babies by choosing only desirable characteristics when creating another human being. Other scientists worry about cloning portraying itself as playing God, which goes against many religions. Despite the advantages and disadvantages of cloning, the world is in urgent need of clear guidelines and regulations that must be strictly enforced. Steps have been taken at the international level to establish regulations and laws for human cloning. The Council of Europe's Convention on Human Rights in 1997 prohibited human cloning. The United Kingdom instituted two acts, the Human Fertilization and Embryology Act of 1990 and the Human Reproductive Cloning Act of 2001, which strictly prohibit human reproduction by cloning means. However, the amendment conducted for the Human Fertilization and Embryology Act of 1990 does allow for therapeutic cloning if conducted for research purposes only. The American guidelines are not as streamlined. Federal law in the U.S. does not exist that prohibits human cloning, and instead, the federal law places greater emphasis on funding for this specific type of research. However, state laws prohibit this practice or only allow a specific form of cloning. Generally speaking, human reproductive cloning is forbidden worldwide, but there is no consensus regarding processes or policies for related new technology as a result of this type of research. This has resulted in difficulty establishing a stable international cloning framework and thus led to the creation of different policies, acts, and laws for different research aspects of cloning. The protection of humans and their rights has not always been evidenced, practiced, or even made a priority as demonstrated by historical events. The violation of human rights resulted in the development of different codes of ethics. Two of the most well-known code of ethics includes the Nuremberg Code and the Declaration of Helsinki. Various disciplines have also created and implemented individual codes. For example, the American Nursing Association published a revised Code of Ethics in 2015 titled Code of Ethics for Nurses with Interpretive Statements. The Belmont Report was created by the National Commission for the Protection of Human Subjects of Biomedical and Behavioral Research. Cohort 9 completed city training back in spring of 2021 with a strong focus on the implications of the Belmont Report. Various governments have established rules and criteria to ensure that scientists, researchers, and others adhere to ethical principles to protect humans. It's important to note that sometimes violating ethical principles is done unintentionally, especially when promoting the rigor of a study, conducting groundbreaking research, or even being on the brink of a magnificent discovery. However, regulations and guidelines must be in place to protect research participants regardless of the type of study being conducted. So what happened after the Dolly experiment? Well, this opened the door for further research on genome editing and even genetic manipulation. Because America currently lacks a federal law against human cloning, more advancement in therapeutic cloning is expected in the future. For example, when examining regenerative medicine, organ transplantation can occur more frequently as a result of therapeutic cloning. More emphasis may also be placed on agricultural cloning with revolutionized and improved livestock. The Dolly experiment made great strides in cloning advancement and opened the door for future studies. This concludes my presentation, and here is a list of my references. Thank you for watching.